Hey everyone. Today's video might just be the most hardcore example of geopolitical strategy you'll see all year. No gunfire, no mushroom clouds, not even a single exchange of fire between warships. But in May 2026, the balance of power in the Middle East, which had remained unchanged for 40 years, was abruptly overturned by a single steel pipe buried underground. If I told you that over the past 4 decades, global oil prices, national strategic reserves, and even the deployment schedule of U.S. Navy aircraft carrier strike groups have all been built on a single threat, would you believe it? That threat is the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Since the 1982, Iran has treated this tactic as a nuclear minus weapon minus level political bargaining chip. Wolf-pack tactics by speedboats maneuvering right along the edge of the strait. Dense arrays of shore minus based anti-minus ship missile batteries, all aimed at the shipping lanes. Kilo minus class submarines lined in silent ambush, ready to lay mines across the entire route at any moment. Their logic is extremely simple and blunt. In blocking this vital choke point, through which 30% of the world's seaborne oil passes, anyone who dares to challenge me will see global oil prices skyrocket instantly, causing long lines at gas stations in New York, Tokyo, and London. For decades, this tactic has never failed. Oil prices include the Strait of Hormuz risk premium. Iran holds the trump card at the negotiating table, and even the foreign policies of Saudi Arabia and Kuwait have had to be subtly adjusted to suit Tehran's whims. But on May 1, 2026, all of this came to a permanent end. The one who brought it to an end was not the U.S. military, nor Israel, but the United Arab Emirates, a country with a land area smaller than China's Chongqing municipality. The UAE took to decisive actions, each a fatal blow. First move, withdrawing from OPEC. The 60-year-old oil cartel lost a core member. This wasp detachment was overturning the table. OPEC's core strategy is production cuts to prop up prices, and Iran was one of the biggest beneficiaries of this system. High oil prices were the lifeblood that funded its military, Hezbollah, and the Houthi rebels. The second move is the real game minus changer, activating the Fujairah pipeline. This 400-kilometer onshore oil pipeline runs directly from Abu Dhabi's inland oil fields to the coast of the Gulf of Oman, with a daily transport capacity of up to 1.8 million barrels. What does this mean? The U.S. oil no longer needs to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, not a single drop. It completely bypasses the strike range of all of Iran's anti-minus ship missiles, speedboats, and mines. It is safe, stable, and free from any threats. Iran's worst nightmare has come true. That horror story of "I can choke you" has suddenly turned into the cold, hard reality of "you can't choke me." What's even more devastating is that, after withdrawing from OPEC, the UAE immediately began producing at full capacity 5 million barrels of crude oil per day, flooding directly into the international market. This combination of moves amounts to launching economic surgery against Iran from 2 directions. On the one hand, you can't sell your oil sanctions maritime interdiction. On the other hand, you hoped oil prices would skyrocket to replenish your coffers. By the UAE have directly increased production to fill the gap, so prices simply won't rise. You sanction me. They'll just take over your market with low prices. You threaten to block the strait. He'll simply bypass it via pipeline. At Iran's most critical oil export hub, Khor Rashid Island storage facilities are rapidly reaching capacity. According to estimates, if oil wells are forced to shut down and groundwater seeps in, it will result in permanent loss of production capacity, 300,000 to 500,000 barrels per day lost, with annual revenue evaporating by $9 billion to $15 billion. This isn't a temporary wound, it's an internal injury severe enough to break bones. And the domino effect of a broken cash flow is more brutal than any airstrike. Translated with DeepL. Calm-free version. Minus Lebanon's Hezbollah, which once possessed more missiles than most European countries, now has its supply lines cut off, its arsenals are only being depleted, and the frequency of rocket launches has plummeted. Minus Yemen's Houthi rebels, who used to call for a blockade of the Strait of Mandeb on a daily basis, now struggle even to secure ammunition supplies no matter how loud their slogans. Without shells, they're powerless. Minus inside Iran, factions within the Revolutionary Guards have begun pointing fingers at one another. How long can the loyalty of troops who aren't being paid be sustained by ideology alone? History has already provided the answer. Minus, not to mention the general public, the government has actually rolled out energy minus saving subsidies, calling on households to voluntarily limit their electricity usage. Think about it, this isn't an environmental initiative, it's because the power plants are running out of fuel. This strategic layout took the UAE a full decade to put in place. The Fujairah pipeline was a stopgap measure. It was a long-term strategic investment. The diplomatic breakthrough brought about by the Abraham Accords prevented the UAE from becoming isolated. South Korean air defense systems and Israeli intelligence integration give it the confidence to withstand potential retaliation. When all these conditions come together in May 2026, Iran will find that its ultimate threat of blocking the strait has turned into a paper tiger. So, please remember this conclusion today. The most powerful weapon in the Middle East has never been ballistic missiles or nuclear warheads, but rather the fear that a single country could sever the world's energy lifeline at any moment. And in 2026, a small country with a single pipeline and a declaration of withdrawal completely dismantled that weapon. In the future, no matter how Iran and the world negotiate, the geopolitical leverage of the Strait of Hormuz has been permanently broken. China, India, Japan, and South Korea now have an additional safe, legal, and coercion-free overland route for future oil procurement, a route the UAE secured through infrastructure development and diplomacy. As always, depth analysis deserves a like, and please share it with friends who are still stuck in the mindset that an Iranian blockade of the strait equals the end of the world. Let me know in the comments which aspect interests you most. How will Iran's network of proxies collapse? New bargaining chips at the nuclear negotiating table. Or how China's energy procurement strategy might change. You'll read every comment, and the topic for the next video will be chosen by you. Follow me, and together we'll cut through the fog to see the big picture. This grand drama has just entered its second act. Translated with deep hell. Calm free version.